I had a question that came in that basically asked this, and it was, and I love this person for being vulnerable enough to ask it. It was what do you do when you don't want to continue anymore, where you are only feel like you're only going and forward because of your kids, that you don't really have anything to look forward to anymore. That that is such a good question, such a heartfelt question, and I can feel your pain in that question. And I can feel that more intently because I've been there. When I went through that particular breakup that I referenced, um, I didn't I didn't want to be here, and I think that's the way it always seemed to manifest itself. I don't want to be here. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to keep going. Right? I'm just done. Um, I think that a lot of us, if not all of us, will get to that point at some point because that's just life. And in my faith, we've been taught since I was little that life is meant to be a test, and it will be, and it is, right? And so I think what can kind of help is recognizing that one, you're not alone in feeling that, and two, it's okay to feel that. That God understands. He really, really does. Even the Savior in his most difficult moment just said, basically, Father, if thou be willing, remove this cup from me, right? I don't I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be here anymore. He understands what you're feeling. He understood what I was feeling, right? But then he said, nevertheless, not my will, but thine be done. What got him through that? What got him through that was another person. And what got me through mine were two other people, my two daughters. If I didn't have them with me, I don't know where I'd be right now. Um, and so, for you that asked about, well, the only reason I feel like I'm even continuing on is because your kids. That's okay, and there will come a day and time where you will thank God for them to get you through the hard part that you're going through. Just like the Savior needed his Father to get him through something he didn't want to go through. I think there will be times where maybe that's one of God's greatest gifts to us, is a reason beyond just ourselves to keep going. For me, it was my kids too, so I can relate to that. Um, what that means when you're going through something like that, to me, is a couple things. One, you've gone through some intense pain, and you wouldn't get to that place if it wasn't for some intense pain. Everybody that I've worked with that has got to that place where they say, and I hear them say this a lot, this is how it usually comes out, is I don't want to be here. I don't want to do this anymore. It's because of intense pain. And so I want to first have you acknowledge that, and acknowledge that you have been through something incredibly painful, whatever it may have been, that's got you to that place. And that's okay. You need to give place to that pain and allow it to be there. Not beat yourself up for feeling that way. There's nothing wrong with you in feeling that way. It's okay, right? It's okay to feel that way and to be in that place. And I think you first need to acknowledge that. Um, what that also indicates to me is that at least like me, you may have been trying to find purpose in something other than yourself. For me, my purpose was coming in marriage, that failed, right, that fell apart, and so I was broken from that. I rebounded into a relationship, and my purpose was suddenly wrapped up in another person. And then when she was gone, I was at my lowest, and I didn't have the marriage and family that I always wanted. I didn't have the person that I thought I was going to be with forever, and I didn't want to be here as a result of that. But I recognized now, looking back, that I had been trying to anchor my purpose in things that were not meant to be a purpose, right? That I had lost myself through the course of those experiences, whether it was marriage, the relationship. And I think that's something that we all have to watch out for and be careful of. There's something, I don't know if I have time to write it out, but there's something that I refer to all the time with the people that I work with called the enough equation. And everything seems to stem from this as I work with them. And it's simply 3 components. It's worth plus power equals safety. This is the place we all want to get to, right? We all want to feel safe. We want to feel secure. This is where we feel happy. This is where we feel ourselves. This is where we can be ourselves. Well, in order to get there, we need to have worth in alignment. We need to have power in alignment. And the problem is when our worth is out of alignment and we don't feel safe, we try to grab it from other sources. And when I work with like anybody, I'll just ask them, like, list some of the worth grabs that you see out there that people try to get validation from, right? And we can make a whole list on that, and you've seen it. We try to get worth from money, how much money we have or make, from the things that we buy, the clothes that we wear, right? The cars we drive, how many friends we have, how many likes we have, how many followers we have, how many, whether we have in a relationship or not, even a boyfriend, girlfriend, a spouse, how good our kids are. We could go on and on. There's so many things that we get our worth from. Well, one of the things that some of them can be very, very subtle as well, right? For me, I was getting a lot of my validation from being needed in my marriage. There was some unhealthy dynamics at play, some codependency that was being developed, and I got a lot of validation from doing things and doing so much and being needed, and that wasn't healthy, right? From my kids even. I've seen a lot of single mothers that have gotten a lot of their self-worth and validation from their kids. Even that can become a very subtle worth grab. What's the problem with all of those things outside of us if we try to anchor our validation and identity to? Do you see how none of those things are meant to last? None of them. You always need more money, right? Styles change. Cars get old, right? Cell phones, there's a new one every year. Relationships come to an end. People die. People move on, right? Our kids grow up and leave the house. Nothing outside of us is meant to sustain our sense of self-worth, because it can't. Because the truth is that there's nothing that you can do to earn your worth, and there's nothing that you can do to lessen it. It's a fixed point from the moment we were born, right? We have worth that is infinite and eternal, and it cannot change. But when we don't feel safe, we sometimes gravitate those things that we think will help us feel better about ourselves. The problem is they don't, and we need more of them. We need more money. We need a newer something. We need, a new person in our life. We need it's never satisfying. And that's why when the Savior, one of the great lessons that I love is when he met with the woman at the well, and he tried to teach her, I think, this lesson. He said, whoever drinks of this water, right, whoever drinks of this physical water, so I need some, is going to thirst again. But whoever drinks of the water that I will give him will never thirst. It will be a well of water inside of him, right? He will remind us of our worth, and the worth is inherent in who we are internally, not based on anything externally. And so chances are, if we're in a place of that kind of pain, it's because we have somehow started to anchor a lot of our worth on something outside of us that is probably lost or fallen apart or isn't working the way that we wanted it to, right? And so we're in this place of pain. Well, now what? What happens in those moments is we kind of lose ourselves. We lose our sense of worth. We lose our sense of self. And one of the gifts for those of us that have been through divorce, if there is a gift in it, is that you have the opportunity to find yourself again. You can find yourself in marriage. You can find yourself in a relationship. You find yourself out of a relationship. But divorce kind of really just pushes you out there and says, okay, go find yourself. and a lot of people turn to different forms of self-medicating to kind of numb the pain. I did that for a while. I think we all do. But something pretty cool started to happen as I started to just disconnect from those external sources of validation and just try to connect with me. Try to find out again and remember who I was and who I am. I had forgotten how much I loved fishing. And I started to do more of that. I'd forgotten how much I loved hiking, how much I loved shooting. I started to just try different things that I had lost the desire to do because I was so wrapped up in some of these external things. And in my case, trying to please everybody and take care of, my kids nonstop. And I just didn't have any time for myself. And so as I started to do that, I started to reach out to some old friends. I wanted to start making some connections and strengthen some old connections. It wasn't always about having somebody of the opposite sex, right? I reached out to some old college buddies. One that had a bunch of horses. I've always wanted to ride horses, and so I met up with him, and we rode horses, and I just started to find little moments like that started to fill me up, and I started to feel better. It took time. And it takes time to move out of that place. But part of the opportunity that you have in something like this is to find yourself again. And to do that through trying new things, right? And that can be a very interesting and sometimes a difficult place to get to and very easy to lose. I've worked with a lot of entrepreneurs that have no idea what self-care is. When I ask them, like, hey, what do you love to do? Oh, I love my business. I love my work. They're some of the hardest workers that I've ever come across, but they don't know what they like because they've lost themselves in their work. And so they don't understand why they can't grow their business a little bit more, a little better. And so when I try to teach them some basic concepts and principles of self-care and finding themselves and making time for themselves, they discover new things that they like, or old passions that they'd forgotten about. And it's like new life comes into them, and they start running their business from a better place, a place of inspiration, instead of just constant struggle, right, of expectation and doing things the hard way. There's actually more of them to give because they're putting time into themselves, and they're rediscovering who they are and what they love. And now their work is becoming a means to help them develop and grow as a person and enjoy life instead of them as a person trying to grow and just focus on their business. And so this place that, if you're ever in this place of pain where you just don't want to be here, I think what your spirit is kind of crying out is that there's an opportunity here. There's an opportunity as you kind of work through that pain, and thank goodness you have people that are giving you a reason to get up every day, and to keep moving forward. What a blessing that is, even if it's just barely enough to keep you going. But as you move through that pain, eventually you will get to a place where you'll start to kind of do some things to discover yourself again. And life can be good again, and that's what I want. That's what I want you to see. As you go through the struggles that you do, and you go through a period where you just don't want to be here, just hold on and keep moving forward and trust that it can be good again, because it can be. And you can find joy apart from a person. You can find purpose outside of a person. You can find a purpose outside of your kids. You can find a purpose out for you outside of anything, right? But something that is true to just you and who you are, what you love, what you enjoy, that will bring you happiness as an individual. God wants you to be happy, and He created a world full of opportunity and things. And chances are that you just lost sight of that, right? You've forgotten a little bit of who you are. And so my advice would be to take the opportunity to start trying new things, try to rediscover yourself, and to find a purpose. One leader of my faith said, speaking really to young women, but also could be anyone, said that the two greatest days of a person's life and when they're born, when they find out the reason why they were born. Every single one of us has a purpose, something that just brings us joy and can fill us up. And I am confident that God will help you to find that. And when we're in darkness like this, like the place you referenced, this is an opportunity for you to trust Him, to lean on Him, and to try things. And to take a few steps in the darkness and see what opens up, right? And to try to find something that will help speak to your heart, speak to your soul. I met with a good friend of mine not too long ago that has an absolute passion. I could see it and hear it in everything that he talked to me about with the environment. And taking care of the environment, being conservative in waste and use and water. There's something that was just, ever since he was little, he told me, he just had this fascination with recycling, and he just did all these things as a kid. And he's put this wonderful program together that he's trying to get out there to people and businesses. But he's just been scared. He's been afraid to do it, and I could just sense the struggle. But that's his purpose. Like he knows it. He knows what he wants to do. Knows something that will bring him joy, and he just needs the courage to do it and to continue to do it and be consistent and persistent in it. And so I'm confident, and that's my best advice for you, is that as you move through that pain and that process, and as you continue, just search for new things, search for things that you love. There will be something that eventually will speak to your heart, and you'll be like, I like this, and it may not be your full purpose, but it will be a step towards it. And you keep trusting God and relying on Him, and keep praying for the light to come, the doors to be open, and be patient, right? A lot of this is the design, I think, to teach us patience and trust. Another thing will happen, and the light will go a little bit further, and then another. For me, I had no idea what my purpose was and what I wanted to do until my sister one day said, hey, I was listening to a podcast. I think that's something you could do. I'm like, podcast? What's a podcast? I had no idea what a podcast was. And I listened to one. I'm like, oh, I think I can do this. I started research. All of a sudden, it was like this fire just started to ignite in me. And now I'm like 450. I can't believe I've done it almost every day since. But I'm like 450 episodes almost in. And I've loved it. But I don't know that that's my end purpose, right? It filled me up just enough to get me out of the funk that I was in. And it took some huge steps. And it's opened doors for other things. To now where I'm speaking and doing assemblies. I never would have thought I would have been on stages in front of thousands of teenagers doing assemblies. I would have never thought that would have been me. But I am, and I love it. And I'm doing more and more of it, and I'm trying to figure out a way to make a living out of that now. And I don't know if that's going to be the end goal. It very well may not be. There may be something else, right? But what I'm learning and what I'm doing is letting go of control. And I started to just take steps, try things that I loved, experience, recognize there's joy that could still be had in life. And I gave time. I gave time for the pain to heal. It was a 5-year process. It was a 5-year process for me. It's been a while. It hasn't all been painful, right? It's been hard. It's been a process. But now where I'm at here, it's been getting better. And I wanted to share that. I didn't want to end tonight without sharing a little bit of that story. And I have no doubt that one day that whatever pain you're going through, as you continue to move forward and just trust in God, you'll look back one day and see that as the gift that it was. I know that probably doesn't sound the way, or isn't helpful now in it, and that's okay. Maybe we'll just end with this. One of the things that I would encourage you to do if you're ever in these situations where you just feel that much pain, you don't want to be here, life is just blah. Focus on gratitude. Gratitude. Get a gratitude journal. Just write down the end of every night 3 things that you're thankful for from the day. Whatever it is. Just 3 things. Get in the habit of that every single day. that is going to change your mind. It's going to change your mindset to where you stop looking so much at the things that are wrong in your life, and you'll start to see things that are right, because there are things that are good and there are things that are right. You just can't see them because you're so blinded by the pain, right? But as you do that consistently, even as hard as it is, and fake it if you have to until you make it, kind of a thing, but every day just find a few things you're grateful for, you'll begin to move through this process of gratitude. There's 5 levels of gratitude that a friend shared with me the other day. I really love. The first is just not being grateful, right? That's where we're kind of lost and stuck in pain. The second level is gratitude for what I have, right? I'm grateful for what I have, and I think all of us are probably somewhere between those two, right? We're grateful for what we have, but I'm also not grateful that going through this kinds of stuff. Level 3 is grateful for the things that I will have. You begin to let go of what you don't have and just trust that it will come at the right time and the right way, and you're beginning to just let go of control and trust God and trust the process. Level 4 is even grateful for the bad. That's a tough one to get to, right? But you become grateful for that because you trust and you've had some experience and you've been able to see that it's actually helping me, not just hurting me. It's helping me to grow. Like, growth requires stretching, requires discomfort and pain, and we start to see that as we move through these phases of gratefulness and gratitude. Level 5, level 4 was we're grateful for the bad. Level 5 is we get to a place where we see that there is no bad, that there are no bad things, that everything is happening for a reason and a purpose. Boy, that's a amazing place to get to. When we can kind of get to that place where we just trust life, where we trust God, and like everything happens for a reason. So there's a lot there tonight, you guys. For those that have stayed with me this whole time, you guys are fantastic. I love kind of taking these apart, and I'll put them apart in different segments later on. But gratitude, gratitude, gratitude. Yes, these are such great. My man Trent, man, I love this guy. Rookie of the Year at striker. Trent is as good a man as they come, and love to see you on here, Trent. Yes, Suzanne, absolutely. Be still and know that you are infinite, Son of the Most High God. Absolutely. Jen, again, make sure you give yourself time to truly heal, and I think that's a big aspect of it, right? Be patient with yourself. Time is one of the best components of the atonement. Time is an element, in my opinion, of the atonement. Time heals. And it's one of the ways we can access Christ's power is by allowing time to run its course. And just be okay with it taking a while. Don't beat yourself up if you're still stuck in this place for a while. You are where you are for a reason, and that's okay. So give yourself time to truly heal. Yeah, a year and a half for you, Jen, right? Before you went on your first date. You're so much smarter than I was. I should have taken a good year. Everybody should take a good year after divorce, but some of us just, again, we talked about self-medication, right? So good, though, to focus on yourself and find time to heal. And gratitude, absolutely. So, I love Hillary Weeks, Suzanne. So there's a great song that was recommended. What is it? Beautiful Heartbreak. I think I've heard that one. So great song to listen to. Music was a godsend for me. It was a lifesaver. Let me recommend, if you haven't seen the movie, speaking of music, I Can Only Imagine. You'll be in tears by the end of that show, but talk about really not having a lot to live for. This young kid, right, had been through some of the worst divorce and abuse and trauma as a young person, and rejection as he trying to get his career started, just constant. And he finally gets this song that he writes that he puts his heart and soul into called I Can Only Imagine. And he has an opportunity to present it to Amy Grant to sing it, and I won't tell you all of it, how it plays out, but maybe of you have heard this song. It's one of my favorites. And she's interviewing him about this song, and she asks him about it and how long it took him to write it. And he said, you know what, it only took me 10 minutes to write. I got a piece of paper and I wrote down the lyrics to the song in 10 minutes. she'd been listening to it for quite some time, and it had such an impact on her. She said, "You know what, Bart?" She said, "You didn't write this song in 10 minutes." She said, "You wrote it over a lifetime." And there's so much truth to that statement. I don't know what God has in store or in mind for us in what we go through, but I do believe and know there's purpose. That little 10-minute song that went on to impact thousands, if not millions of people and bless their lives and fill them with hope and inspiration, took Bart a lifetime of pain to be able to get that out of him. Trust in the Lord, right? Lean not unto your own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. My ways are not your ways, right? Kind of a thing. So trust, trust, trust. The pain may be intense now, but there is a purpose and there is a reason, and I'm confident of it. And if you'll stay close to the Lord, take care of yourself, and move forward as best you can, take steps, the light will begin to open, and there will be a purpose and a reason. And the pain that you've gone through, my big guess is, will end up being a gift to people. That's what empathy is, right? When we go through hard things, it helps us develop the eyes to see others suffering. It helps us develop the heart that God has to offer them empathy and the motivation and the desire and the ability to do something about it with our hands. When we go through those hard things, we understand those that are going through hard things, and we can help them find their way. The best people that can help addicts are recovering addicts. I can't connect with a recovering addict as well as a recovering addict, or an addict as well as a recovering addict can, because they've been through that. I have a wonderful family. None of them could really help me through divorce because they'd never been through it. Guess who I'd love to talk to and hear from the most when I was going through divorce? Those that had been divorced, right, and have gone through it. Who's to say that the pain that you are going through now, whatever it is, isn't God's way of shaping you and creating within you the ability to help other people? Everybody that I work with as a part of this foundation that's trying to curb teen suicide has been impacted by suicide. Loved ones, it's all of us have stories, right? This pain that we've gone through, we're allowing it to become something more. But it takes time and effort, and continue to move forward and trust, and if necessary, finding yourself again in that process. But if that's where you're at, I'm excited for you. Honestly, what an amazing opportunity that you have in front of you to find yourself, right? To discover who you are again, to find what you like, what you love, what makes you happy and helps you to feel alive. Because there's so much out there that can be experienced. And so anyway, those are some thoughts. I hope some of those things have been helpful.